Before the creation of the Imperium of Man, humanity suffered through an era known as the Age of Strife. During this time, there was no unity between mankind, not even within our own solar system. Each planet was responsible for their own survival, and while the majority of these planets were ruled over by techno-barbarian warlords or powerful malevolent psykers, there was one planet that was able to cast off the rule of these terrible overlords and exist in relative peace, the planet of Uranus. The people of the seventh planet unified their void citadels into a crescent fortress around their world, and together they were able to flourish as a community of artisans and space scavengers. This small human empire became known as the Azurite stations of Uranus, named after the blue inner surfaces of their void citadels. Together, the Azurites were able to fend off pirates and marauders that normally harass the outer planets of the Sol system. And with that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Azurite stations of Uranus. If you guys are new to the channel, we post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. What I try to do in these 40 Facts videos is have a lore portion in the beginning, a hobby portion in the middle, and then a Q&A at the end where I answer the comments that you guys left off in the previous 40 Facts video. So if you guys have any questions about the 40K universe, or if you guys have any suggestions, just comment down in the comment section below and I'll get to them tomorrow or in the next 40 Facts video. And if you like this type of content, hit the like button. That lets us know that we should focus more on these types of videos, and it also tells YouTube that you want more 40K content. So with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Azurite stations of Uranus. Despite their independence, the Azurites greeted the Emperor's convoy courteously, and they agreed to kneel before the Imperial authority. The newly compliant Azurites were turned to fueling the ever-hungry machines of the Great Crusade. Significant numbers of their civilizations were inducted into the crews of the expanding fleets, and their unique technology began to flow into the hands of the Great Crusade forces. But soon the Azurites would face their doom at the hands of an ancient enemy in the form of the Solar Pirates. They were remnants of a confederation of renegades comprising of vile mutants, witches, and abominations that had risen to power during the Age of Strife. Scornful of the Imperium and fearing its might, they circled the newborn realm like jackals at the edge of the firelight. As the bulk of the Emperor's forces were sucked into the spiraling wars of Neptune's moons, the pirate clan's hunger finally overcame their prudence. The Azurite stations were set upon by the Solar Pirates, and their station's defenses were torn apart. The Azurites screamed into the void, calling on their new masters to help them. Though focused elsewhere, the Imperium was not deaf to the war cries of these pirates that hungered for their newly claimed domains. In answer to the cries of the Azurites, it sent the Imperial Fist Legion. When they arrived, a squadron of heavily gunned system crafts pushed its way through the sphere of pirate ships and launched assault crafts into the beleaguered station. 50 Imperial Fists disgorged into the battlefield passages of the Void Station and quickly broke the first wave of pirates. Within an hour, they had reconfigured the station's defenses and broke 3 more pirate assaults. The pirates, sensing defeat, cut their losses and ran back into the dark to lick their wounds. However, they didn't flee without one final parting act of spite. In a last suicidal attack, a ship broke through the Imperial lines and fired 3 boarding torpedoes at the station. But one did make it through, and inside this boarding torpedo was a man with no eyes, fingers, or ears. He spoke one word: silence. Only then did the Azurites realize that he had released an ancient psi plague. It was known as the Screaming. It was thought to be eradicated during the Unification War since the Emperor's rise to power. As this plague gripped the Azurite stations, the 50 Imperial Fists knew that they stood alone against a threat which could wound the Great Crusade itself. As one, they deafened themselves, and having reduced their world to silence, they fought their way through the maddened waves of infected Azurites. They could not allow the Psi Plague to escape the confines of the Void Station. All it would take is one person to scream in a vox and someone else to hear it beyond the station, and the screaming would spread. The 50 Imperial Fist ordered their warships to withdraw. They renewed their oath and went to meet their deaths. Setting the reactors to overload, the handful of remaining legionnaires transmitted one final message. They told the Imperium of what they had done and why. 1 solar hour later, the reactor detonated. Within hours of receiving the last message from the Azurite stations, fleets of ships and forces from the newly expanded Space Marine Legion were sent to hunt down the pirates. A solar month later, all that existed of the Solar Pirates were gutted wrecks and corpses floating in the airless night. The Screaming was never visited on mankind again, and it is said that when the Emperor heard of the sacrifice of the Imperial Fists, he ordered the newly raised Bell of Lost Souls in the Imperial Palace to toll for its first time. And that's the lore to the ancient empire of the Azurites. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to learn more about the Bell of Lost Souls, that's a really interesting part of Space Marine lore. Check out our 40 facts on the Bell of Lost Souls. I'll put a link up above, but basically it tolls whenever a hero is dead, or usually a Space Marine chapter. Yeah, check that out. But now let's go back to the building vlogs. So in yesterday's 40 facts video, I showed you guys that I'm building a kind of like fortress wall. Today what I'm going to try to do is paint some of the wall, because I don't really know the color scheme that I want to go with, so I want to experiment on a couple of things. Let's do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is spray paint the entire wall piece with a tan color. While that dries, I'm going to make my own black wash because I don't want to waste the good stuff on a piece of terrain. To do this, I mixed black acrylic paint with water and some dish soap. And this is where I realized that I fucked up. The wash was not diluted enough, so I basically just painted the whole thing black, or a lighter black. I decided to add more water to the wash and give it another go. Unfortunately, this also looks terrible because the bubbles from the dish soap created a weird pattern on the wall that I didn't like. Alright, before calling it a fail, I'm going to spray paint over my mistakes and give it another shot, but this time I will be using Nolan oil. And the dried product looks okay. Still not 100% satisfied. If you guys have any ideas of how I could paint this piece of terrain to make it look like concrete, please let me know in the comment section below. The tricky part is that the paper layer of the foam board is smooth, so it's terrible texture to work with to make it look like concrete. If I should have ripped off that paper layer and then just glued on the cardstock on top of it, but maybe next time. I'll if I make another wall structure out of this material, I'll do that. We will have to try some different painting technique tomorrow. And with that fail of a paint job, I'll give it another shot tomorrow. It's time to answer some questions that you guys left off in yesterday's video. Yesterday's video was the 40 facts and lore on the breach of the Imperial Palace's walls during the Horus Heresy, Warhammer 40K. So you guys left some questions. If you guys have any comments, questions, comment down in the comment section below, because I'll answer them in tomorrow's 40 facts video. But let's get into these really quick. This first question comes from Alex Dar. Can you tell us about your first Warhammer 40K project that you did and how it went? What lessons you learned from it, and if you had any help? How old you were at the time, etc. Maybe a whole video about it might be cool. Just thinking. I think creating a video on it would be awesome. Unfortunately, the terrain piece that I have in mind is gone. 40K project, I guess, like building, or my very first build was a squad of Space Wolves. It was me, the Sound Alchemist, and another friend. We went into the Games Workshop inside the mall, and we bought this box, and all three of us, we built the 10-man squad, and I took 4 and they took 3. I took 4 because it was my birthday, so like I had that extra one. But yeah, that, I guess that would be the first project. But the one that I was talking about earlier, I built an entire terrain board out of cardboard. So it was like a cardboard ruined city set. It had streets, it had debris pile. Like, I got really, really creative. I would go into like the grocery store, and over by like the produce section, they used to have these little twist ties that, like, so you would put your vegetables or whatever in a bag, and then they would give you these green little like twist ties that you would wrap, and then you would tie it up. And what I would do is I would just steal a bunch of those, get back home, and then peel the paper, and then use the wire to like wrap it up in a little coil, and that would act as like barriers, or tank trap barriers, or barbed wire, things like that. I didn't really get any help on the build itself. I got a lot of inspiration from watching mini wargaming. So back in the day, this was like probably 2006, 7, or maybe even 8. I don't really remember. It might have been earlier. I started playing 40K when I was, like 12 I'm 29 now, so it was a long time ago. If we do the math, we could probably figure out the year. But yeah, I used Mini Wargaming as inspiration. They had a lot of terrain pieces that were really awesome. I think, if I remember correctly, the terrain guy at that time was like Firefighter Steve or something like that. Some guy that would just like show up probably to their hobby shop and want to make videos. So he would make videos and stuff with them. If it wasn't him, it was like a shorter dude who used to play orcs who had like a beard. I can't really remember. And then there was also Terrainaholic. Terrainaholic was another YouTube channel that I used to watch a lot and get ideas from. But all of those things kind of inspired me to build this like cardboard city. And in the future, I'll probably create a video showing the progress of how I used to build these terrain pieces to now how I build the terrain pieces. The core, like the core structure and the design is still the same. The only thing that changed is now I pay more attention to detail. Even though, like, as I've gotten older, I've realized that sometimes it's just better to buy the box sets from actual Games Workshop. Like, just buy the terrain that they sell instead of trying to make your own. It's going to look way better if you just buy paint and it's less time. Obviously, as you get older, you value your time a little bit more. So yeah. But yeah, I'll talk about it in depth when I do a tutorial on how to make a ruined city. Thanks for the question. Next question comes from Observation Source. This question often plagues me and I don't really understand, but did a legion fight together all as one group, or were they spread out amongst different regions? Also, keep up the great content. Thanks, man. During the 30K era, so during the Great Crusade, the Space Marine legions were split up into different groups. I forget what they were called, because they weren't companies. They were something else. But a lot of the people leading those legions that were separate, because it wasn't always their Primarch. It was like captains and stuff like that. They would later on go on to become the leaders of the next founding. So when the Horus Heresy happened, and then the Great Scouring happened, and then finally the Codex Astartes was implemented, and all of these legions were broken up, these chapters that came from the legions were really just like the small groups that were already crusading on their own, separate from the main legion, and those leaders became like the chapter masters and stuff like that. The best example is the Iron Warriors and the successor chapter of the Iron Warriors, the Red Talons, I think it's called. Check it out. I'll put a link up above. But yeah, so that's how it was. They were separate. Also, that's where you get situations like the Blood Ravens. So if you play Dawn of War, you know that that is a successor chapter of the Thousand Sons. And the reason that they weren't corrupted is because during the assault or the burning of Prospero, when Magnus finally succumbed to Tzeentch, the group that was fighting away from Prospero never got corrupted, never really understood the downfall of the Thousand Sons. So that separate group that was on crusade somewhere else, they went off and they became the Blood Ravens, or so the rumor is. But yeah, good question. Next question comes from Green Bahi. Did you cover Tuska the Demon Killer before? I'm curious if his story continues one day after his shenanigans on the Demon World. Also, do you have info if a model of him exists? I couldn't find one in the previous or Codex editions. No, he doesn't exist, and he hasn't really... he's been part of the lore of the orcs, but he's never been a playable character. Tuska the Demon Killer is a video that we did a long time ago, so I wouldn't even say watch it. It's pretty shitty. But I'm actually working on a new Tuska the Demon Killer video, and hopefully it'll be out soon. I am kit bashing my own Tuska the Demon Killer. He's actually up there right now, just staring at me, waiting for me to finish him. I probably won't. No, I mean, I have to. because I'm going to create the video pretty soon. But yeah, so sadly, no, we don't have that model. Next question comes from Rando Game Guy. What if the ancient Rylanor was found by the Death Watch and it is possible for a Dreadnought to become a Black Shield? A Dreadnought could become a Black Shield. Ancient Rylanor, unfortunately, is dead. Spoiler alert, I think. Let me just make sure. Because if I remember the story, he tried to kill Fulgrim. And he basically went nuclear. He called Fulgrim to the world. I just need to see an image. Let me see. I don't know if I could see a picture of him. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so he called Fulgrim to a world and then detonated his basically nuclear bomb. Almost killed Fulgrim, but because Fulgrim is empowered by chaos and the body just regenerated. So could a Dreadnought become a Black Shield? Yes. Is Rylanor still alive? No, he's done. He's done. Next question comes from James Pinkman. How many armies do you own? A lot. Like a lot. Not all of them, though. We'll leave it at that. Next question comes from Forge Master. In Warhammer 40K or Fantasy, has there ever been a greater demon of Gork and Mork? I don't know about Fantasy. I know in 40K there has not. The closest thing is the Prophet of the Wog, which is Godskul Magork Thraka. So, yeah. Next question comes from Atwan Ewig. Is Sound Alchemist's wife providing the narrative on creepypastas this year? Because last year she killed it with Birth. I don't know. You should ask him in one of the Greater Walls or in one of his videos. I mean, we have enough time to coordinate something, so hopefully he can. But yeah. And then next question comes from John and Liz Hayes. They have a shared account. John and Liz do. Why is there no movie on the scale of the Lord of the Rings? I think because 40K is not as popular as Lord of the Rings, is not as popular as Star Wars back then. Now I think we're seeing more and more attention on Warhammer 40K, which is awesome. However, I do also feel that Games Workshop has always been very we want all control. Like, we don't want to share our what is it called? Our IP, basically. So much so that what was it? Is it Event Horizon? Or no, which one is the movie where there's a movie that is kind of based off of 40K and the Warp, but it wasn't ever outwardly said yes, this is the 40K universe. Also Starcraft, I think it is. That's supposedly the Warhammer 40K universe. They just never got a hold of the IP, so then they created their own, and that's why you have the human faction, basically the Space Marines, and the Imperial Guard within that world. But yeah, so I think part of it has to do with the fact that GW hoards their product and holds their ideas and stuff like that. But hopefully that changes. We'll see. And then this is going to be the last comment. The rest I'll just answer. Well, I'll do two more comments because I just saw another one that's kind of funny. This one's by Matthew Davis. Vin Diesel's dad was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. I don't believe you. Should I look it up? Vin Diesel's dad. Vin Diesel's dad is not from Gilligan. Is not. Wait, hold on. Is he? Damn it. Yeah, nah. See, you tricked me. He is not. He's a famous actor. No. So Vin Diesel's a famous actor. Yeah, no, he's not. You liar. Made me look up some stupid stuff. Anyways, and then Wes the Mess 117 says, is he saying wall or wog? Both, probably. I'm an orc player, so I'm probably saying both at the same time. Because who needs the English? Who needs to speak well Ever. I don't know. But yeah, those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for me, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll continue the project with the wall in the next episode. Talk to you then. This is Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, I give up my freedom.